All right, welcome in the NBA Tip-Off Show here, powered by WagerTalk.com, as it is the final slate of group play here in the NBA Cup. A lot of different scenarios playing out both in the East and the West. We're going to break down a few of these games for you, see if we can't come up with a couple of best bets. We'll hear from the contrarian gods. We'll talk a total. And, of course, we'll hear from you guys, too, on any games that you have questions about. We'll do it, of course, with one of our favorites, Double R, 1L. Steve Merrill is here. Unfortunately, Brian Power is still here as well. But it's always a good pleasure to see you, Brian. I don't know what is that a new camera? You're looking good.
It is.
I can actually make out your face. Let's start with the contrarian gods. Yes, that is very special, as a matter of fact. Let's start with the contrarian gods, if we can here, fellas, because they are clearly speaking a language that the market is listening to. While the public is running to bet the Milwaukee Bucks, the contrarian gods continue to push the money towards the Detroit Pistons here. Down to 3 now, 5, 4.5, 5. Boy, oh boy, but all the tickets seem to be coming in on Milwaukee here. Merrill, what are you thinking here? Both of these teams, point differential and a win would go a long way here in helping these teams advance. So what do we get in Detroit tonight with the Bucks and the Pistons?
Well, first of all, this is a huge cup game, and it's appropriate we have a soccer guy on when we're talking about the NBA Cup with Brian Power, because he can explain this a lot better than you and me can, Joe. But apparently this is the end of group play. It's the fourth of the 4 group play games, and the winner of the group from each of the 6 groups automatically advances to the round of 8, and then each conference gets one at-large from the best second-place team. But the reason this is important is because both Milwaukee and Detroit are 3-0 in this group. Your Miami Heat are 2-2. So nobody else is going to win this group, but whoever wins this game tonight. It's that simple. Whether the other team can still get in or not, they have a shot, but it's definitely not automatic. It'll be less than 50-50. So it's an important game for that reason. I guess the betting markets feel like Milwaukee is taking these games serious. At 10-9 on the season, they are, because they're 3-0 in these games. They're just 7-9 in all other games this season that aren't cup games, for what it's worth. I think that's just kind of random. But some of these up-and-coming teams like Detroit really take the tournament serious as well. So home atmosphere, live dog, this might be like a playoff game for the Pistons tonight. So I'd have no problem fading the contrarian, or backing the contrarian call and fading the public with the home dog Pistons in this one.
All right, looking at the home dog Pistons. What are you thinking there, BP? You on the same page here with Merrill, or how do you approach this one?
Yeah, just to clarify the various permutations here. As Steve said, the winner takes Group B. The loser is probably eliminated, unless if this game ends up being very, very close, like a couple possessions, and the Knicks would have to lose to the Magic. I know we're talking about that game in a little bit later on. Steve talked about the motivation. I agree with him that Detroit, this is an event where we all know the Pistons are better this year, right? But they're not going to make a deep playoff run. This is their chance to shine, do something this NBA season. And they get a chance here to beat a team that has owned them in recent seasons. The Bucks have beaten the Pistons, guys, 10 straight times, 22 of the last 23 meetings as well. The first matchup this season, Giannis went for 59 in an overtime game, 127-120 final. But yeah, I'm with Steve. I think the Pistons are going to be the more motivated side. So I too will agree with the contrarian gods. I suspect the Pistons are going to be better defensively, Joe, than they were Saturday when they lost to Dan Alexander's Sixers. That was the second night of a back-to-back. Coach Bickerstaff cited the travel as a big reason why Detroit did not play well defensively in that game. Cade Cunningham was also out. I think it's important to note he will play tonight. I would look at his overs in the player prop market as well. That's a guy who averages a combined 16.2 per game in rebounds plus assists.
Outstanding breakdown by Steve Merrill there, if I don't say so myself. Gentlemen, always a pleasure to see you. Brian Power's here too as well. Big Daddy's here. Javier Cash is here. Titan CT is here. Yes, guys, we know there was a little bit of a stream issue, it looks like, on YouTube, but it looks like they cleared it up, so you guys are good to go.
They have Chinese Black Friday cameras, Brian Power. See what you've done?
That's correct.
Now, hold on a second. I wanted to say one thing.
You're looking a little jaundiced, but it's okay. Yes, go ahead.
The good news is you look good. The bad news is nobody saw it.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe the deal I got on installation, Steve. This poor sucker I conned into helping me get this
They
whole
installed
thing
like
set
7
up.
other bugs in your house at the same time.
You wouldn't believe the guy who sat with me 30 minutes while we got this whole thing set up. Joe.
Put 7 other cameras throughout the house, which you haven't seen yet.
Let's
not get into
ask
that.
him to put in any drywall, that's for sure. All right, let's move on. Big shout out to Have Cash too, hanging out with us, Titan CT. Xavier Koch, good to see you guys here. Big thumbs up if you could, as well as a subscribe button. Do the thing with the buttons over there. It's always a good time. Let's talk, guys. Primetime game here tonight, one in which I keep seeing it going back and forth. The New York Knicks at home here tonight. Basically, it's an elimination game for the Knicks as far as this NBA Cup. Knicks win, they'll be in. Orlando does not have to win in order to be able to advance because their point differential is over the top. So they're in regardless. They'll advance. But the Knicks, they lose, they're out, Merrill. And that's it. And, boy, you'd be hard-pressed to find a team hotter than Orlando. They lose Boncaro. They lose a couple of games, and then they rattle off, 12 or 13 wins without him? It's been a fun ride. 4.5, I'm seeing 215 as a total. Something's got to give here, Merrill. You think the Knicks handle business, or does Orlando say, bye-bye, no more NBA Cup for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm always sarcastic when it comes to the playoffs about how they won a Game 6, they won a Game 7, scripted. We talk about that in the NFL a lot. But isn't it nice that we have the 3-0 Bucks, 3-0 Pistons, and then right in that other group we have the 3-0 Knicks, 3-0 Magic. Boy, has this NBA Cup worked out well for the NBA so far as the matchups they wanted. I do think this will have a playoff atmosphere for that reason, and we always lean under in those games. And, Rob Vino pointed something out last week or a week ago when we were doing the NBA show about, I think he said the Knicks were the second or the slowest team in the NBA, but the second most efficient offense at the time. This is about a week and a half ago. So that's always kind of jumped out to me as well. Hard to fade New York in a spotlight game here against still what is a shorthanded Orlando squad. And this line 4.5, I think it's pretty much where it should be. I would lean Knicks here, though. I think they win this game. But I also think if they win, it's going to be a half-court slowdown game. And Orlando plays that well at times as well. Look at the opening line, 218.5. It's now down to 214.5. So we've definitely seen some sharp money on the under, and I would agree with that as well.
Oh, looking at the under in this one, too. Not a bad look. What are you thinking there, BP? Did you see Orlando? I thought it might be short-lived, but when you rattle off this many wins in over a dozen games, they're playing pretty good basketball, and everyone's contributing, especially Wagner, who he's averaging, 26, 27 points a game. The guy's an absolute force. Can the Knicks respond here with a win and a cover?
Yeah, I talked about this on the morning wager with Zeno. I like the Knicks here. It's the permutations here in this thing with the cup. They, as you pointed out, Joe, need the win. I think technically Orlando could be eliminated if they lost this game by 38 points or something like that. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, okay, 33. The good news is the spread's not 33, Joe. It is only 4.5. I will lay it with the Knicks in this spot. I think Towns is going to have a big game. I think Brunson's going to have a big game. I don't really want to mess around with the total because it's kind of high for Orlando, or from Orlando's perspective, but from the Knicks, it's a little low. So I think the total's just right. But in terms of just motivation, I'm going to operate under the assumption the Knicks want to advance here to the knockout stage. Orlando, if they get down, they just have to keep it reasonable, and they know they advance too. They have the number 1 point differential among all teams in cup play, by the way, at plus 60. So they're good. Lay it with the Knicks in this one.
Ooh, so it's confidence going on there. Lay it with the Knicks, 4.5 in that game here tonight. All right. So if you like that one, we got another one that's real interesting here tonight with out in the West, in which total chaos can ensue. And that, of course, is with San Antonio and Phoenix. Now, San Antonio finds themselves in a pretty good spot, right? San Antonio wins. They win the group, and they move on. However, not so fast, though, with the Phoenix Suns, who they, too, need to win, and then they may need a little bit of help here. So Merrill, let me go with you here with the San Antonio team and Phoenix. Kevin Durant already came out talking about how much he loves this NBA Cup and thinks it's a great idea. Looks like they'll have Bradley Beal and company back. I don't know if it makes a damn bit of difference here. Who do you think wins this one? San Antonio makes life easy. If they beat the Suns, that would give them the group victory no matter what. They already beat Oklahoma City. Can they beat the Suns here?
Yeah, it's surprising how much their defense has improved this year. Obviously, Wemby's a huge presence defensively, but they're like top 10, top 12 right now defensive efficiency. They're ahead of the Suns overall in that metric when you look at it. So if this is a important game for both teams, you look for a little bit of a defensive intensity. Yeah, Bradley Beal listed as available for whatever that means. We'll see how he does tonight since he is available apparently. The Suns are a team that, a veteran team like this, you do worry about their focus on the NBA Cup. That's something we talk a lot about with a lot of these teams like we did with the Bucks earlier. As far as the standings here, they're both 2-1. So once again, lo and behold, the NBA got a nice first place cup game. It's been the theme of the show here. I'm not going to say hashtag scripted anymore. I'll let the viewers describe for themselves or decide for themselves. As far as this matchup, though, you look at San Antonio. They've rattled off now 5 wins in their last 6 games, both straight up and ATS. It does feel like they're a little bit of an undervalued commodity this year. I think they've really improved. Meanwhile, Phoenix, despite winning 2 of their last 3, have still dropped 6 of their last 8 straight up. So we get a team in much better current form, the better defensive team, getting 7.5 points. I'd lean towards the Spurs as a live dog in this one.
Ooh, leaning towards the Spurs here. I mean, shockingly enough, BP, I mean, the Spurs, they win the group, right? But if they lose, the Suns beating the Spurs would only give Phoenix the group win if the Thunder somehow lose to the Jazz. I don't think any of us see that happening, but stranger things have happened here. But make life easy. They are a big dog. I think Bradley Beal and everyone else back here tonight. I don't know. What are we doing here? I mean, if the Spurs win, OKC still has a chance at the wild card based upon point differential. So what happens in this one?
Yeah, I'll be talking about that OKC game actually a little bit later on, Joe. I don't really have a good feel for the side in this, but I do like the over. Remember, when Mike Budenholzer took over Phoenix, the big thing was, all right, this team's going to shoot a gajillion threes a game. And guess what? They are taking a lot of threes. Beal, as you guys mentioned, will be back. No Nurkic. So I think you're going to see Phoenix gunning it. I think you're going to see a lot of threes. The Spurs take a lot of threes too, guys. Wembanyama, I know some people don't like it. They think he's playing too much like a guard for a guy who's 7'3". He's made 55 threes this season. 17 games, that's pretty impressive numbers. I mean, quite frankly, I think the San Antonio's going to take the points any way they can get him. They don't care how he plays, as long as he's scoring. Steve talked about San Antonio's improvement defensively this year. I don't really like Phoenix defensively, so that's another reason to back the over. Chris Paul, I think, could have a big game potentially tonight. So, look, in a game, point differential matters in this thing. I think teams are going to keep going. So, I think the over in a game that probably projects to have a lot of threes from both sides. Joe.
Ooh, interesting. Listen, depending on what happens in that Suns-Spurs game, Oklahoma City and Phoenix, they don't have a great point differential, and Dallas has a ridiculous point differential thanks to their blowout win. And that's a game also that's going to be interesting. It is our overtime featured matchup because, well, we're expecting points in this one, and the points opened up at 241. Now we're seeing 244, 244 and a half here. If the Mavericks beat Memphis, they will likely be the West wild card coming out of that. Their point differential is over the top here. So what are we thinking, Merrill? This is continue getting the steam up. We're in the middle 240s now. Is that enough for you? Want to look at the under, or is it just over a pass in you with this one?
Exactly. It's over a pass for me. We're not touching the under. Obviously, the sharp money is on the over here, so it just becomes a question, is there any value left? And to put this in perspective, DraftKings had an overnight number as low as 235 yesterday, 235 and a half. Circa opened it at 238. And now as we're doing the show right now, it's 244. So I'm not in a hurry, to give up that kind of line value. But then again, those are just bad numbers. That's not like those were 50-50 numbers. That was a 70% edge on those numbers to the over. I still think there's some value here. If you blindly play the highest totals over at these big cards, you've done better than not over the years. And highest totals go over for a reason, like we say. Yes, the line has gotten a little bit out of whack here compared to the opener, but it's over a pass for me. There's definitely no reason to play an under in this matchup.
Yeah, you can't see it, BP, right? I mean, it's probably not enough, especially if point differential coming into play here. I mean, these teams are all going to be looking to make a statement. But listen, you got to win this game if you're going to give yourself a chance. So I don't see either of these two teams slowing down with the points, do you, or playing defense for that matter?
No, I don't. Both these teams are red hot. From a net efficiency perspective, you're talking about two of the top 7 in the league. Memphis has won 6 in a row, 5-1 ATS. Lone non-cover was as a double-digit favorite. Then you got Dallas, on the other hand, 8-1 straight up and against the number. Their last 9, they've won and covered 4 straight. Luka's back, 36-13 in his return. I lean towards the Mavs to the right side, but as you guys pointed out, it would be over or pass here, even at the inflated number. Memphis is number 1 in pace of play, and both teams top 6 in points per possession. It's a high number, but as Steve pointed out, last games involving these teams, 257 total points in Memphis's last game, 267 for Dallas. So maybe 244.5 ain't so high after all.
Yeah, well, and look at the point differential in that group. The Suns are plus 19, the Thunder are plus 18, and Dallas is plus 41. So the Dallas is kind of sitting pretty with tiebreakers with the point differential, but if they beat Memphis, again, they're likely in there. But do expect maybe some teams, if they get a chance to hammer them, well, get ready. I mean, if Memphis can hammer them, Memphis will do it in this particular spot. All right, so that means we've got ourselves a couple of featured games, a contrarian play, as well as a total. The only thing left, of course, is best bets here. And don't forget, guys, it is $5 Tuesday here, right? Customer appreciation $5 Tuesday, which means best bets are in fact $5 over at the WagerTalk.com. You can visit Bryan Power as well as Steve Merrill, who's going to tell you what he has got available for you, and then drop us, Merrill, a best bet tonight on this loaded slate in the NBA.
Yes, I'm going to give you a free NBA play, a false favorite where I think the underdog wins outright in just a moment. A game we haven't talked about, but yes, it is $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk.com, which means each and every capper, even Bryan Power and myself, Steve Merrill, can get a best bet for just $5. And there's no limit. Kyrie Irving says shop early and often at the site. And that's an instant 80% discount. And by the way, my top play is a college basketball $5 best bet tonight. 46 games on the board. And I think the strongest plays in college hoops. In fact, I've got 2 college basketball best bets. If you want just the $5 play, it's a great time to try it out. But if you want both best bets, instead of spending the $30 for one night, why not get the $69, dude? The 7-day $69 all-sports special expires at midnight. This is absolutely your last chance to get 7 days and nights for just $69, including both of those strong college basketball best bets tonight on Tuesday. So whether you get the $5 version or get the big 7-day package for $69, Tuesday's the only chance to do it. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Free play, late game, 10 o'clock Eastern tonight. Let's take a look at the Houston Rockets plus the 1.5 to plus 2. Better team as an underdog, to say the least. They're on a 12-3 straight-up run. They're 3-0 in cup games. Sacramento Kings are 0-3 in cup games. 1-6 their last 7 straight-up. 1-8 against the spread their last 9. I don't play false favorites. Houston Rockets plus the points. I think they win this one outright at 10 Eastern tonight. Take a look at that one in the NBA.
Yeah, they are a hot mess, are they not, Sacramento? My goodness, not good at all. Houston, absolutely on fire. And by the way, they've already won their group here, so they are sitting pretty, getting ready to roll here tonight against Sacramento. Now, how about you, BP? Got a lot of options here on the board tonight. What are you locked and loaded? $5 customer appreciation. What are we getting, and what's your best bet here tonight?
Yeah, my best bet is going to be a big favorite. Rare for me that I would play the biggest favorite on the board, but We'll get to that momentarily, but first, let's tell you about the $5 play. It is in college football for this weekend, all season long, guys. I have been making my first college football play of the week available for just $5. Most of the season, it has gone very well. Last week was a disaster. Unfortunately, we addressed that on both the Morning Wager and the Power 5. We will bounce back. Sometimes bad weekends do happen, like the last one. We were 67% in college football for the record the previous 12 months, which we were very proud of. Bowl season's been good the last 2 years. We're going to turn around this week. We were 5-0 last year on conference championship weekend, Joe. So first play is now available at my page for just $5. Now, for today's best bet, this will not cost you a thing. I like Oklahoma City minus 13.5 against the Jazz. Here's the bottom line, guys. We've been talking about the various scenarios to qualify for the knockout stage in the NBA Cup all show. The Thunder need to win, and they need some help in order to advance. If they win and the Spurs lose to Phoenix, then the Thunder do win that group outright. But if they win, if OKC wins and the Spurs manage to upset the Suns, then point differential comes into play. Okay? And I think Utah is going to be a victim of that. Utah stinks. We all understand that. They're one of the worst teams in the league. They're bottom three, along with New Orleans and Washington. So I think Oklahoma City is going to absolutely show no mercy in this game, Joe and Steve. If they win, hey, they're the group winners, but it behooves them to win by margin, I think. And if you want to win by margin, playing the Utah Jazz is a pretty good thing. I would look Oklahoma City over its team total as well if this is too many points for you, because I think the Thunder score some more. But I will lay the 13.5. Again, very rare for me that I would say those words, but I think the situation calls for it.
He behooved us. Did you hear that? Behooving is what he did to us there, Merrill. And let me give you a little also back in the East, guys. So if the Magic beat the Knicks, Orlando wins the group. That's what's set for that one, right? If the Knicks beat the Magic, then the Knicks win the group. If the Knicks lose to the Magic, they're eliminated from the wild card. So that's why that game is important. But anybody wanting to know Boston right now has got to hope for the Knicks in order to be able to win this game, and then it gives them a chance in the point differential category. That's where the Bucks and Pistons game will come into play, because then it all becomes a matter of what the points, who beats who and by how much there. So the Pistons cannot lose by more than 4 points in this game here tonight. So that's what is at stake. It's a little confusing, but the reality is, I'm wondering, Merrill, if I know I can't lose by more than 4, but I already know the finishing game in one of the things, if I already know that Orlando has won or the Knicks have won in there, I'm wondering how fast word travels with these, because there are scenarios in which the point spread will come into play here, the point differential, and you just got to wonder how many teams are just going to be like, all right, well, hell with it. We got to win by more than 15, then let's get it done. They did stagger the starts here tonight, so some games will be over before. It'll be interesting to see how much effort we get maybe in game with some of these teams.
Well, that's a good point. Nowadays, we do have in-game betting, something we didn't have 20 years ago. So, I mean, that's something to keep an eye on. I like where Brian's going with OKC. You know, if you're going to lay a big number in any sport, you need motivation, especially in a daily sport like the NBA, which is all situational and motivation for them to win by margin. But, Joe, I've been meaning to say this all show long, and it really segues well to what you're talking about. Let's not forget that these all count as regular season games still. So tonight's games are no different than any other game over the past month. There's just a little extra incentive for a couple teams to win or win by margin.
Correct.
But otherwise, this should be the same as any other Tuesday night in the NBA season going forward, because they all count as wins or losses. The only game that will not count is that very final game for just 2 teams in a couple weeks. So I do think that gets lost a little bit. As far as handicappers, I do think when teams are playing to win their group, like a lot of the games we've talked about, you can at least know you're getting a good effort by both teams, which makes it a cleaner handicap. But still, these games matter. So just because a team is clinched like the Rockets against an 0-3 team in the group like the Kings, it doesn't mean Houston should take their night off. You know, it's still a very meaningful game.
Right. Yes, that's correct. It's a very good point. And yes, BP, these are no different. These games here tonight with a little extra juice for some of them. So should be an interesting in-game opportunity kind of night, too, with these. We'll see what we've got going, but it's all going to start with the early slate of games. And certainly 7 o'clock Eastern time will be that first slate, Milwaukee Bucks and Detroit. I think the Sixers can beat the Hornets finally, although Dan was telling us how I believe the Sixers don't even have remotely close to the same amount of wins that the Eagles do. So I'm pretty sure Philadelphia fans have already stuck a fork in Embiid and the Sixers, and that season's over. Maybe they should just pack that in. Don't forget, guys, hit the like button, hit that. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Become part of that WagerTalk TV family. And don't forget, drop your favorite bets here in the chat room or in the comment section. And, of course, any questions, let us know. It is going to be a fun night here. We'll have much more NBA action coming up on Thursday this week. That's when you'll see us again here. But, of course, great college basketball, great college football games, NFL Week 14. We got a little something for everyone here, including a $5 Best Bet Tuesday customer appreciation. So go take advantage of it. Merrill's locked and loaded. So is Brian Power. $5 at their page right now. Go grab those best bets and then come back and join us again tomorrow. Bet on It'll be out. And, of course, much more, including the morning wager and Steve Merrill's videos breaking down all the big games. A lot of reasons to hit that subscribe button, guys. Best of luck with all the plays here tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow here on WagerTalk TV.